Hey everyone. Hey, it's Lisa Turner here from Psycademy. So I'm going to give you a few moments while the old Facebook algorithm kicks in and while we're waiting. If you know anyone who you think might be interested in this, so I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is the themes for 2020. Like here we are, we've just started a whole new decade. And I don't know, is it a number or is it something more than a number for you? So so if you know anyone who you think would be interested in knowing what's coming up, what's happened, and kind of the themes of what this year are about and how you can ride these waves of power. So while we're waiting for a few people to jump on, always takes a few minutes. Hello, anyone there? Yes, got some people now. So if you know anyone who'd be interested in this, so we're going to share exactly where we are now, how we got here, and what's coming up, and how you can ride these waves, and what's the theme for this year. So as I say, if you like this video, click the love button. Because of the Facebook algorithm, it ignores likes now, so you really need to like it. You need to like it as much as you love it, so click the love button, and tag someone if you think someone would be interested in this. So if you've been around Psycademy for a while, you've probably you might have heard me talk about this model. Hey, Maria, thanks for all the shares. Really appreciate that. So I'm going to share this model first, and then I'm going to explain exactly where we are now. And there's going to be some brand new insights about what's going on. And chances are you're already seeing them. You're already seeing what's going on and probably wondering what's going on. So we're going to give you some clarification of an explanation of what's going on. Hey, Karen, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Cool. Hey, awesome. So here's the model. Then we're going to do the extrapolation, which is kind of like a prediction, but with a bit more data behind it. And we're also going to then do the themes of this year and what you can do to really embody the energy that we're all being called to embody. So, beginning of last century, there were 2 world wars, a depression, recession, whatever you want to call it. So people didn't have enough food to eat. They didn't have anywhere to live. And the whole of society demanded, and then it got this, social security, got housing, we had agriculture got sorted out. So we really understood. So the whole, we had our needs met. And this is the base chakra of society opening. Now people have got enough food, they've got somewhere to live. We've got the foundations. Yes, people are liking this. Oh, I've got a grumpy one. I don't know why you're grumpy at me. By the way, if you have any questions, let me know. I will keep coming back to the chat box. I will be happy to answer them. And if this resonates with you, let me know. Okay, so once you've got the base chakra open, then you can create space for the next one. So a chakra, in case you haven't heard, don't know anything about this, and you don't need to, it's an energy center, and it relates to an area of the body and certain qualities and characteristics, behaviors, and often an emotion. So the base chakra is about security, survival. So beginning of last century, we had our survival needs met. We had social security, we had housing, we had that, like the very basics of a safety net. And I know some of you are saying that doesn't exist now. It kind of does, but in a different form. But that's for another Facebook Live, really. So then what happened was people started to feel. So what really happened was it was a very restrictive time. It's like you had to conform. You had to have your 2.2 kids, and you had to do what everyone else did. And then people got a bit fed up of conforming, and from this survival, I have to do what everyone else does, thinking. So then what happened? There was that sexual revolution of the 60s, right? It was a sexual revolution. It was a revolution of creativity. And it was all about free love. There was music, there was fashion, there was art, and everything was new and different. And this is obviously the sacral chakra of society opening. You won't be surprised to know. Can you see the pattern already? Good. Just checking there's no chat box and nothing in my little chat there. Okay, so then what happened was, so now you've got sexuality, creativity, pleasure, flexibility. It was the whole, that whole time that, that happened, right? Then the system was very much about sharing, and it became no longer balanced. And society, it was sort of, everyone wanted to, everything that you earned and worked for was shared out. So people decided that they didn't want to share everything. They wanted it now. And then we moved into the 80s. The 80s is a time of financial boom, and it was the generation of, I want it now. I don't want to wait. So the focus was on individual wealth and individual success. So people survived for personal power, personal control over their lives. They wanted to make their own decisions. And they kind of, the catchphrase, greed is good. And this was all, it was in Thatcher's generation, Thatcher's time. So there was a huge financial boom, huge boom in technology. And this is the solar plexus. This is about identity. It's about willpower. It's about control and individuality. Okay. But what happened? People either got burnt, they lost everything, there was some kind of crash, or they got burnt out and they started to question, is logic, is money, is rationality, is that the only way? Is that the only way? They started to want to feel their emotions and express them, and it started to be okay. And people started to ask the question or say, there must be more to life than this. And so emotions were expressed. It was all about group hugs. It was about compassion. So there we are. Now we're in the 90s. And this was an explosion of therapy and healing, and a time of it was really all about compassion and love and expression. So obviously this is the heart chakra. Higher emotions, compassion, love, connection. Now, then we moved into the noughties. Now, of course, you had to be under a rock or to not notice the noughties was the internet. That was the birth of the internet. Now, coming from an academic background, I had access to the internet a little bit before everyone else, because we had Janet, which was Joint Academic Network, and I could just send an email to an academic in Bristol Uni and get a copy of his or her paper. Very exciting. But so the noughties is all about the internet. We've got social media, blogging, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and that's all, and we keep getting more and more of them, right? Snapchat. So suddenly everyone's talking, everyone's listening, everyone's videoing, podcasting, everyone's sharing everything. And I'd love it if you shared this, if you thought people might benefit from it. This is the throat chakra. It's about expression, communication, and information. Now, where are we now? So where we are now, in fact, I'm going to, before I say, so obviously we are now the third eye. For years, I've been saying the third eye is about to open. It's about to open. It's about to open. Now it is opening. It is opening if it hasn't opened already. Now, for some people, of course, we're talking about society, not individuals. Now, you as an individual may have all or none of those power centers open, and we call them power centers. And each power center corresponds with a kind of leadership. And where we're invited to be now is in this place of the third eye. The third eye is about insight, vision, wisdom, discernment. This is where information becomes wisdom, where knowledge becomes applied and useful. Now, it is a very spiritual chakra. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, spirituality, that's been around since the 90s. Yeah, but not like this. Not like this. Because here, so what happens before every power center of society opens is, what happens is there's a drawback. So just to give you a couple of examples. Oh, tittle pom, somebody, oh, that's the news going off. More news coming in, more information. Trump's done something. So let's take an example of with the base chakra. The base chakra, there was an excess of base. So it became all about survival. You had to conform or you'd be kind of rejected by society and you'd never get a job and you'd never have any money. So you had to conform. And that's what caused the breakout into the momentum to launch us forward into the sacral chakra opening. Is this all making sense? Is this making sense, guys? So let me know if you think this makes sense. So if you can see that pattern. Now, as I said, the solar plexus was all about too much about logic, rationality, money, wealth, willpower. And so people wanted, it's like the excess of the solar plexus caused the heart to open. Now we're in this place of the third eye. We've gone through the third eye, what we call the drawback. So before each chakra opens, the one beneath it is drawn back, or it goes into excess. So an example of excessive throat is everyone's talking, but a lot of it is BS. And there's no, so the third eye is about discernment. That's where you go, okay, where'd the information come from? What's the source? How is that data collected? Is this just somebody's opinion, or is it actually based on some evidence? And where did that, how and where was that evidence collated? And then how was that data processed? So you really explore this and ask the questions versus just reading something and going, oh, that must be true. That must be true. That must be true also. And you know, so an example of this, you know, so I'm, you know, as I said earlier, I'm an ex-academic and I'm a scientist. So my first degree was in engineering. I have a PhD in mathematical modeling and aeroacoustics, which is hard sums about noisy fans. And I have recently just begun my journey to getting a master's in physics. It's a lifelong dream for me to get a qualification in physics. I'm doing quantum physics, stat therm, so quantum physics, relativity, astrophysics. And by the way, if you're interested to know, right now in the sky, you can look at the Andromeda galaxy, and that's going to be visible from between about 10 p.m. even till just before dawn until kind of mid-February. So you can still see the Andromeda. So if it's a clear sky, go out and look at you can see the Andromeda. It's a little bit of, well, it's a bit of astronomy for you. So, okay. Oh, lots of other people have joined. Hey, nice to see you. Good. So where are we now? We're in the drawback of, we're really in that drawback of the throat, where there's two, actually we're coming out of the drawback of the throat, where people are now really starting to open their third eye, to really start to have that discernment. Because so here's where it gets a little bit controversial, a little bit different. So most people think of the third eye as just pure, it's intuition. I just trust my intuition. But the thing is, you can't have intuition about something which you know nothing. You can only have intuition if it is grounded in knowledge. And this comes from the tarot. So if you look at the deck of the tarot, so by the way, the tarot was never intended for a tool of prediction or divination or fortune telling. It was actually a personal development tool. And each key was an archetypal energy that when it is active, you experience the positive benefits of that. And each key ideally would be activated as in turn. So if you think about the journey of the tarot, you have the Emperor. The Emperor is about logic, rational thinking. And then you have the Hierophant, which is about intuition. And you can only have intuition if you have knowledge. If it's, and this, I know people are going to go, no, I can be intuitive about stuff I know nothing about. Well, my invitation is to try it. Try it. Because sometimes you'll get it right and sometimes you won't. But you can be intuitive about that which you have some knowledge. Now, here's where we're going with this. Here's what's happening right now. So in this place of the third eye, this is where we're really calling for, society is calling for visionary leaders. Now, spiritual leaders. So third eye is about spirit. It's about vision. It's about intuition. And it's about leading from that place of having all of the previous power centers active and leading from this place. So what do I mean by spiritual leader? So I'm going to ask you this question, or rather, like, let's explore this, because I think now, just get comfy in my seat, I think now is really a time of visionary and spiritual leaders. So let me know what you think. Do you agree with this? So we've had leaders who have very, very loud, open throat chakra, and they've talked a lot of not always total truth. Alternative facts. Anyone heard that phrase? So we've heard of some of our leaders saying things that weren't totally, I'm not going to say they lied. They probably thought they were true. Maybe they did, but they might have not been totally accurate. We'll just leave it at that. So now what the world is calling for is spiritual leaders. So what do I mean by spiritual leaders? So probably the best way to explain this is to think about, well, what's a leader and what's spiritual? So, and maybe you're a spiritual leader. So let's ask this question. Are you a spiritual leader? So one of the things about being a spiritual leader is, I'm just trying to, I've actually got my notes here. I'm just making sure I kind of speak in some kind of coherent fashion here. So a spiritual leader, so you're both spiritual and you're a leader. It's someone who inspires change and growth in others. They're maybe leading it, teaching large groups, may not be. Maybe working from your, from a coffee shop or your kitchen. Spiritual leader is the spark. They're the flame that ignites a whole movement of change. And that change might be the change to awaken the entire planet, or just your best friend, or just your work colleague, right? So that's what a spiritual leader is. Now, you may think, I am a spiritual leader and I want to work with large groups. You may think, I'm a spiritual leader, but, does that mean I have to work with large groups? And it absolutely does not. A spiritual leader starts with, I think a spiritual leader starts with the person who goes first. So the question is, are you going first, or are you waiting for someone else? Are you waiting for permission? So I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think it would be better, the world would be a better place, if our leaders were more spiritually awakened? And if you think the world would be a better place if our leaders, those who are leading us, making massive decisions, if they were more spiritually awakened, if you think that the world would be a better place, then just pipe or even type yes in the little box there. So here's the problem with this, though, because most people say yes, and a lot of people are giving me little loves. I love that. So here's the problem with this. A lot of people, and I was actually in my Facebook group, it was just before Christmas, and I asked, and I can't remember what the question was we asked. And the answer kept coming back was, people need to be more spiritual. Everyone else needs to wake up. The world would be better if everyone else just woke up and was more spiritual. Lots of people typing yes, thank you. Here's the problem. What happens if you sit there and wait for the world to become more spiritual? What happens if you sit there in judgment or evaluation of the world would be better if it was more spiritual, versus saying, do you know what? I'm going to go first. Now, you may already be going first, and there's no judgment here, and I'm not having a go at anyone, but I'm just kind of bringing some stuff into our awareness, because this is how we create change. And some of what I say is controversial, and it's controversial intentionally. No, I don't intend to be controversial, but to annoy people, although it just comes naturally, right? But my intention is to have you ask questions of yourself and to start to think about things in a different way. So most people would agree it's fair to say the world will be a better place if our leaders, our politicians, those in leading large corporations, were more spiritually awakened. So let's explore, what do these two words mean? So spiritual. So a lot of people think of the word spiritual as, somebody who is, so I think of it as somebody who is awakened to a higher level of consciousness. They're able to see more, perceive more. They're more aware. They're less in judgment. They're aware of the divine. They're aware that they are the divine, and they aim to see the divine in others. By the way, my definition of spiritual doesn't include, you've got to be able to speak to the dead and see spirit orbs and auras and talk to goblins or whatever. Right? I don't care if you can do that. I care, how do you show up? Because I think the bottom line is somebody who is spiritually awakened is someone who makes decisions that are fundamentally for the highest good of all, not just for themselves. And by the way, this also means that the highest good of all also means themselves. So sometimes people think, oh, you're not very spiritual because you're doing this thing and you're just doing it for yourself. And it's actually sometimes, you, me, we all need to do things that are for us. You can't serve the world from an empty cup, from depletion. And sometimes you have to do what's best for you so that you can do what's best for others. Now, when somebody's spiritually awakened, you probably find that people love you. They love to be around you. They trust themselves around you because they don't feel in judgment. They open up to you. But here's the problem, or it can be a problem, is if you are just spiritual without being leader, people don't listen to you. People don't act. You will likely, and somebody who is spiritual without being a leader, what will happen is you will likely, so often what happens is you kind of awaken, you see the world as it truly is, but you haven't tapped into that leadership power, your inner power. So you look at the world, you can see it as it truly is. You go, oh my God, it's terrible. And so you want to retreat from the world. And you have to, I see a lot of spiritual people saying, well, I had to leave that job and because I just couldn't cope with it with my new level of awakening. And I had to protect myself from negative energy. And it's like, actually, What if you didn't have to protect yourself from negative energy? What if you just saw energy as energy and you thought, well, that energy isn't serving any of us, so let's go out and friggin' change it. Let's change the energy. Because if all the spiritual people who awaken then go run from the world, what happens? What happens? You have all the spiritual people quivering in a cupboard under the stairs, while then by definition, the leaders who are stepping into their power are by definition not spiritual. So what makes somebody a leader? Well, a leader is someone who has power. They have the power to act, to make decisions. They make things happen. They create change. They create change in the world. They create change in their own life. They create change and make decisions that impact themselves and actually change stuff in this physical reality, right? So spiritual person often aims to escape from the physical reality. They see the physical reality as horrible, don't like it, it's scary, I'll escape from it. Versus a leader who says, I don't like this, I want it to be like that. Now, here's the problem. If you are a leader but not spiritual, right, or if we have leaders, because I don't think we've got anyone who's that on my thing. So if you are a leader but not spiritual, you're going to get a world that looks pretty much as it does right now. Would you agree that's fair to say? You know, that most of our leaders don't seem to be terribly spiritually awakened. It looks to me, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm certainly not including all leaders, but there are a significant number of leaders in positions of huge political, financial, corporate authority and power, not making decisions for the highest good of all. Then you have spiritual people who are hiding under the stairs saying, let's protect ourselves from the world that doesn't work. Now, do you see the problem? And this is where we are with the third eye open, with the third eye chakra of society. Now people are starting to see this. Okay. And if what I'm saying pisses you off, I forgive you. I absolutely forgive you. Because the thing about being a true spiritual leader is they will say what is true and what is a truth, not the truth. And by the way, I don't know if this is the truth. This is what I'm observing. And if you present to me a model that demonstrates that my model is broken, I will, and I understand it, and you can explain that, then great. I'd really love to hear how we can explore and extrapolate that model even further. So here's where we are. Here's what's coming. The theme for 2020 is power. It is power. And it is power from a place of the greater good, for the good of all. And that's what we're all being called to. Now, here's what we'll see. One of the things that happens is when people either haven't got their third eye open, or they're still in the excessive of throat, or any of the other power centers aren't working, what you'll see is this. Is that these people are in a victim mentality. And what they're doing is they will look at the world and they'll say it's terrible. And rather than thinking, okay, I see the world as it truly is, I'm going to go and tap into my power. I'm going to find what I need to do to get powerful enough to make that change. And I'm going to create the change. That's what a spiritual leader does. But what a lot of people who are in that victim mentality will do is they will look at the world or their life and they'll say, this isn't working, it's your fault. And they will do that to any leader. And this is kind of my invitation and my this isn't a warning, but this is what I've observed, right? There are a lot of people who are not willing to take responsibility for their own life and their own life choices. There are a lot of people who are not willing to commit and take the action that they want to take. They know they need to take in order to step into their power. And rather than doing that, they'll look for someone to blame. And here's where we're at a choice point. And this is the controversial piece, guys. Sometimes people who are in that victim mentality space will look for someone to blame. And if you are, or if you have stepped into your spiritual power, your spiritual leadership power, or you are working towards doing that, they might blame you. Because here's what victims do. They actually try and use the illusion of victimhood to try and access power. So here's my invitation to you guys is to don't listen to them. Work from a place of love and compassion. Work from a place of expansion. Work from a place of growth. Come from that place. Those people who are looking to blame you, don't believe them. Right? You are not responsible for their life's choices. Now, you may want to help them, but you can't help them by just saving them. All you can do is show them a better way where they can take responsibility and take their own power. And the way you do this is the essence of being a spiritual leader is go first. Go first. And going first, it may not be comfortable. It may not be easy. It may be challenging, because what you might find is that those people who are still in the victim place, they're looking for someone to blame, and they'll see you stepping into your power, and they're down here and you're in your power, and they're down here, and they go, you're the reason my life's crap. And you can say, no, I'm the reason I'm in power, and you could be too. So stay out of blame and be in evaluation, observation, and be in that witness consciousness. But don't like we don't create spiritual leaders by all spiritual people saying, oh, you're right, let's all of us spiritual people not have any power and we can all be powerless together. Because that's BS, guys. That's BS. Bullshit is what I'm saying. Swearing for free. So normally I charge for normally I only swear for people who have paid me, so I'm swearing for free. So we don't, as spiritual leaders, get into power and stay in our power by stepping into our power, have someone accuse us, blame us for their lives being shit, and then us letting go of our power. Because then all we end up with is all the spiritual people without power. Now, this can be challenging and it might not be comfortable. And so here's my invitation is to just stick together. You know, and my invitation is, if you're not already in my Facebook group, join my Facebook group. We have lots of paid programs. If you want to join us on one of those, and we can give you even more help and support. Those of you who are seeking and desiring to step into that place of spiritual leader to make a difference in the world. All right. So, you know, go and see our website. We've got a ton of stuff. Join our group. It's completely free Facebook group. That's all we're doing is saying, let's stay together and stay out of victim mentality. And when you get people who will try and attack you because that's them in their victim space, they're in this victim space and they see you in power. And rather than saying, hey, how did you get that power? Can you show me? And then if they say that to you, go, yeah, hey, I can. That's what I'm doing here, guys. By the way, this is what I'm doing. I'm saying stay out of victimhood, step into your power. And what you do is join our Facebook group. Let's stick together. Let's share. Where are you being attacked? How is that being created? What can you do to either just avoid those people, inspire those people, or let go of those people? Because there's nothing that says you have to be around people who are choosing to attack you. And you can do that and still stand your ground and stay in your power. Because here's the thing, what's that saying? And I forget who said it, but it's like, you don't create, I think it's like, you don't help people you don't take someone else out of pain by being in pain yourself. Yeah. So it's like, if you're healthy and someone else is sick, you don't help them get healthy by you becoming sick. And the same is with wealth, right? You know, I know spiritual people, by the way, one of the ways you get power is to step into your money power. And that's another theme of this year is spiritual money power. And you don't get power by saying, I'm going to be broke. I'm going to be broke, because like it or not, money gives you power. And you can say, I'm powerful even though I'm broke. I mean, like, I don't know how that works for you. And if you can show me how that works for you, then great. But here's the thing about money. Without money, you end up making choices that are not necessarily for your highest good. You end up making choices and sacrifices that mean you're not living your life's purpose. You're not serving your vision, your mission, your purpose. This year, or last year rather, and this year, we have spent in Psycademy over £150,000 reaching out to people with completely free events and low cost events that don't even break even. We don't make any money out of them, basically. We spent over £150,000, and we're set to do that again this year. Now, we don't do that by being broke. Next week, we are on tour. We're going to Brighton, Southampton, Bournemouth, and see the places on our fan page. And it costs us it's nearly 60,000. This tour is costing us £60,000 for one tour, 3 events. And we can't do that by staying broke and just hoping that people find us in the cupboard under the stairs. Chloe, I'm here. We do this by running Facebook ads, by doing campaigns, by hiring a huge room, inviting people into it, buying them a cup of tea and coffee. We're probably spending something like $3,000 just on tea and coffee, right? Seriously. And we're doing that because we want to get this message out. We're doing it completely for free. Now, we can't do this. Kes saying she's trying to share this. I will figure out how to share it, or maybe Joe will figure out how we can make it shareable. You might not be able to share it until after it's finished. Who knows? But tag some people. Just tag some people. So money gives you power. We can't reach those people and spread this message of inviting others to step into their power if we didn't have the money to do that. Okay? So stepping into your power, your authority, and your money power. That's what 2020 is all about. And 2020 is the time when victims, or those who are choosing to stay in victim mentality, this is not victim blaming, by the way. If somebody is genuinely attacking someone else, and here's the thing, it's like if someone's genuinely attacking someone else, the thing to do is not go, yeah, actually, I'm also a victim. Let's all be victims together. It's to say, okay, what do we all need to do to step into our power so we can stop this from happening? Attacking the bullies isn't necessarily the way. It might be part of the way, but it's only a part of it. It's also it's so much more than that, but it's also like bullies can only bully because you aren't in power. Yeah. I once had a client who was actually quite a bullying client. And you know what enabled me to just let her go with love was the fact that I didn't need her as a client. I didn't need her financially, and I certainly didn't need her for any other reasons. So money gives you the power to make powerful choices. Okay. So what we're being invited to do is to step into our power and not pretending we don't have any, so if you're up here in your power and you're standing in this place of I'm owning it, I'm being it, I'm doing it. And when you see someone who's in that place of victimhood, rather than saying, oh yeah, poor you, let me come down to you, to say, okay, look, here's how you could come up here and then we could be both powerful together. Because wouldn't that be amazing if more spiritual people stepped into their power and inspired and encouraged other spiritual people to step into their power? And what we are going to be seeing is maybe, and sadly, some disempowered by choice spiritual people attacking spiritual people who are choosing to step into their power. Now, then you have a choice. If that's happened to you, has that happened to you? I don't know if you can relate to this. If that's happened to you, you've worked towards stepping into your power, and then someone who's choosing to stay as a victim has tried to bring you down or accuse you of bullying them, even when you're not. You're just saying, no, these are my boundaries. I'm not taking bullshit. Okay, so maybe that's happened. I don't know. Let me know. So, whoa, lots of messages. Yes. So the invitation is to step into your power, stay in your power, stay in a place of compassion and non-judgment, and inspire others. Let's work together. If you're an awakened spiritual person and you want more power, you want to feel more empowered, the way to get that is not to bring someone else down, is to help someone else up and to support those who are working to create a better world. So what else can I say about this year? I can say so much. So another little piece, talked about power. Now we're going to talk about knowledge. Because here's the other thing. Money gives you power, but so does knowledge. Now, we talked about the throat chakra. Throat chakra in excess. Everyone's talking a lot of bullshit. Now we've got to bring it into knowledge and discernment. So here's an interesting thing. So I was talking to somebody, I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to share what I think is right or wrong. I'm just going to share, this is an observation. So somebody came to me, I was chatting to someone and she was like, yeah, big pharma, they're all out to get us with their vaccines because vaccines are bad. And there's, you know, all the scientists are lying about how unsafe the vaccines are. And I go, okay, you know, that's interesting. That's an idea. And then she also said, yeah, and then it was another conversation, but the same person was saying, talking about climate change and saying, isn't it terrible? All the scientists are saying climate change is real. And then there's all these people denying climate change. And wouldn't it be great if, you know, they just trusted the evidence? And I'm kind of like, so one group of scientists are out to get us and one is out to save us, but is science good or bad? It's like, so in one conversation, she's saying science is bad. And in another conversation, she's saying science is great. And I'm not going to say which of those I believe is or isn't true. That's not for me. Here's what I will say is go and look at how science works. You know, typically when people say this to me, and they say something about, you know, science is bad. So first of all, science is limited. Science is limited in its understanding and it is not perfect. But go and look at how it works. Figure out, like, how does a scientist get a journal article published? How does that work? How does a peer-reviewed article get published? By the way, peer review means it's reviewed by your peers, and they're often your competition. So if you come up with a radical idea, trust me, this happened, come up with a radical scientific idea, you try and get it published, and the competition may try and suppress it. But here's the thing, it gets published if it's true. Gets published if not true. Gets published if the study stacks up. And there might be lots of caveats, and go and look at it, go and read it. Like at the back end of a scientific journal, there's nearly always like, it works in this situation, but not here. And here's the limitations. The sample size could have been bigger. And we only did it on a Tuesday because the lab wasn't open on a Wednesday. By the way, science is sometimes done like that. I chose to do all of my experiments between 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday. We didn't do any on Saturday and Sunday. That happens with science, by the way. But it's a limit. So it's not that it's wrong, it's limited. So read it, figure out how it works. Go to an MSc in physics if you really want to stretch your mind. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because partly I'm doing my MSc in physics, partly because it's a lifelong dream for me. I actually wanted to do physics and I ended up getting talked out of it and get talked into engineering. And so it's just a lifelong dream. But also I love the stretching of my mind, because here's the other thing that we're being called to do. With the opening of the third eye of society, the third eye is about knowledge, wisdom, discernment, and it's about using your intellect. And one of the things, you know, so there's a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learning is happening. It's happening, guys. We can try and legislate against it and say whatever, but it's happening and it's going to happen more and more. And there are going to be, here's my, not prediction, but it's an observation of what I think. I think there will end up being two groups of people. There'll be those who understand machines, understand artificial intelligence because they understand intelligence. And there'll be those who are controlled by those who understand the intelligence, understand. In fact, it was said by a coder, and I actually forget who it was. It possibly might have been Bill Gates, but I'm not sure. So if you know who it was. And he said, there'll be two groups of people. There'll be those who program the machines and those who are programmed by the machines, those who control the machines and those who are controlled by the machines. Now, I don't think that necessarily means we need to do computer programming and understand code, but we need to understand intelligence. We need to understand, we need to really use our intellect. Because here's the thing, you know, I've just been helping my husband, who does have a PhD in physics, to set up his webcam. And we got it working. It was no problem. He's a very intelligent man, but anyway, we got it working. And here's the thing, you know, like so much of this is what we call plug and play. And if you have to do anything, like what we had to do was you had to go to a site and download a driver and install the driver and uninstall the broken driver and reinstall the correct driver. It was just a little bit of like, well, let's ask Mr. Google. Mr. Google, if it's not too much trouble, could you tell us how to make the webcam work? And Mr. Google said yes. Now, Mr. Google wasn't busy because she helped me. Mrs. Google knows everything. And so it's about you not being intellectually lazy. Because what I see a lot of people, and maybe you've seen this, have you noticed? Like, it's almost like the more information there is, the more plug and play, the simpler things are, the less we're called to really think, So do something, do anything that causes you to stretch your mind so that you don't become intellectually lazy. It's like we exercise our bodies. Let's exercise our minds as well. And it actually doesn't really matter what you study, what you learn, how you stretch it, so long as it does something that makes you go, man, I do not understand this tensor calculus thing. I don't understand. I understand a little bit of tensor calculus. Actually, the thing I am, analytical dynamics is where I'm stuck at the moment, and orbital mechanics, good old Kepler. So do something that has you go, I just can't grasp this concept. I can't get my head around it. Do that and try and get your head around it. Try and wrap your head around it. Because knowledge is power, and intellectual wisdom and discernment. And you only get that if you can stretch your mind. So go and figure out how the studies work. If somebody's giving you some information, the first question to ask is, if someone gives you a conclusion, vaccines are bad, vaccines are good, ask them, where's the evidence? How did you come to that? I'm just curious, how did you come to that conclusion? And actually ask for the articles and study. Look at it, explore it, understand it. What was the data size? Where's the data come from? How is it gathered? Those kinds of questions. And you can go down that rabbit hole as far as you want. And it doesn't matter which rabbit hole you go down. Study something. So, summarizing. We're at a place where the world is calling for visionary leaders, spiritual leaders. This is a person who is spiritual, awakened, conscious, makes decisions for the highest good of all, but somebody who is also in their power. There will be those who are choosing not to step into their power, who will choose to stay in a victim place, and they may try and bring you down when you do this. And the invitation is to just say, no thanks. I'm choosing to be empowered. And you can choose to be too. The other invitation is to stretch your mind. Find something you don't understand and try and figure it out. Because if you can figure out that, then you can figure out something else in a completely different realm, in a completely different subject area. If you don't like maths and science, don't do maths and science. Try and figure out something else, art, color, music, learn a new instrument, anything. Learn coding, computer programming, learn psychology, learn biology, anything. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be science. Anything that has you go, I don't understand this concept. How can I grasp it? How can I get my head around this? Because this is what this year is all about. It's all about spiritual people stepping into their power and refusing to compromise because it makes someone else feel uncomfortable. And if your power makes someone else feel uncomfortable, that's their problem, not yours. And the way to solve that is not to go, oh, well, I'll be stupid and powerless to help you feel better. That's like, I don't know. I was with a group of girls at, newer group of girls. I was for a while with this group of girls at school, and they all played this game. It's like, oh, you're so smart. And it's like, oh, that makes me feel so bad that you're so smart. And I heard them all saying, no, I'm not. I'm really dumb too. Let's all be dumb together. And it's like, stuff that. Let's be smart together. Let's be powerful together. Let's be inspired together. Let's be conscious together. Let's pull each other up rather than pulling each other down. And if you see someone who's got more power than you, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, ask them, how did you get that power? How did you do that? What do I need to do to have that kind of confidence, that kind of certainty, that kind of power? Ask, be inspired, be empowered, don't compromise. So power, knowledge, money, those are the themes for 2020. That's for me anyway. What are yours? So I hope that's been useful. If you want to know more, join us in our Facebook group. I'll drop the link here, or somebody will. If you want to know even more, so the Facebook group, completely free. Or if you want to know even more, join us on one of our programs, Spirit Prac. Ask about our spiritual practitioner training. Ask us about any of our programs. Ask us about it. Just go and look at our website. I'll drop the link in. Go and explore. And let's stay together. Let's work together. And our 3-day live event is coming up. Our next one is coming up. In fact, I'll drop a link to that one. And that is called Abundant Spiritual Leader, which is about money, power, awakening, and knowledge. So that's probably the best place to go. I'll drop a link for that in our Abundant Spiritual Leader. It's a 3-day event where you learn how to step into your money power, your spiritual power, how to let go of what's not serving you. That's a really powerful, really empowering 3-day event workshop to join us on. So if you like this, let me know. What are your questions? If you're watching the replay, post your question. I'll come back and answer it later, but probably not next week because we're on tour next week. So till next time, huge love, huge respect to you for stepping into your power, for choosing this. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being you and for being powerful, for choosing power, choosing discernment, choosing knowledge, choosing abundance, choosing money, choosing awakening, for choosing, because choice gives you power as well. Till next time, lots of love. Bye for now.